What's going on, guys? Sam here. Today I'm going to be giving you an effect tutorial on one of our recent videos, real life Snapchat filters. So if you aren't familiar with the video, I'm just going to quickly play it to show you a little bit about it. So aptly named, it's about Snapchat filters in real life. So here we've got a guy with an emoji head, and if we scrub forward, Eric spawns a space invader, and he drops a little bomb on a laptop and it voxelizes it. So it turns it into a ton of little cubes. And that's the effect I'm going to be overviewing today. This effect was actually requested by one of our Patreon supporters. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's this amazing website that helps creators like ourselves make better content. So people can pledge a certain amount of money per video, and they are rewarded for that. So for one of our awards, we give exclusive tutorials based on effects that are requested. And as this particular reward grows, we'll start doing a poll for the most popular effect and also overview the other ones. And then this also includes tutorial project files. So everything we're using right now in this effect, so you guys can follow along. So I encourage you to check this out, and it's really appreciated because it helps us make better content. So thank you guys. So let's get started. So here's the effect. And you can see this footage is very flat, but if we open up our After Effects composition, we've got a LUT applied that just brings out the color. But if we turn off all the layers, you can see that the original footage doesn't have a laptop or anything. So it's basically just a moving shot that we motion tracked. So here we are in Buju, which is a motion tracking program. And I'm not going to spend too much time in this program. I'm just going to show you that we motion tracked it. But there's many motion tracking tutorials online, so I highly recommend you check that out. And we've also got some on our website as well. But with this data, you can extract it and then bring it into a 3D program like Maya or 3ds Max, and have motion tracked footage with the exact camera that you shot with. So now we're going to head over in 3ds Max, and that's where we're going to do our voxel effect. So this effect is actually utilizing a plugin called ArrayFire, which is a physics plugin. So I'm just going to bring out a plane right here, and then I'm going to bring out a simple box. And this is just going to show you kind of how the effect works. And I'll change this color just so there's a little more contrast so you can see. And I'm going to drag this box up, and then I'm going to head over to the Modify tab, and I'm going to scroll down, and with the ArrayFire plugin installed, there's a ArrayFire Voxels modifier. And we'll click that, and you can see it turned our geometry into a ton of little boxes. Now, if we scroll down, or scroll up in this case, we've got a ton of different options, like voxel size, so you control how many voxels are a part of this, as well as voxel spacing. So for tutorial demonstration, I'll make the boxes pretty big so we have less geometry. And what we can do is scroll all the way down and go to export. And we can actually export it as mesh per voxel. If we hide our original mesh, which is this box, you can see we have a ton of individual boxes now based off of those voxels. So utilizing ArrayFire's physics plugin, we can head over, open it up, apply all these objects in the impact objects, and then apply our plane in the static. And I'll just go ahead and rotate these a little bit so we get a better physics simulation, and we'll click bake. And check that out. So we have, that's basically our voxel effect. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So with that being said, to get this effect, all we really need is a model of a laptop to voxelize, and then we can just destroy the geometry with ArrayFire. So with that being said, here is our laptop that we actually used. And it's very similar to the laptop that we had in the video. And this was actually just downloaded free from online. So I unfortunately cannot supply this, but there's many laptops available for online. We can just apply that same effect, and I can show you real quick. Here is the ArrayFire voxels. And you can see how terrible it comes out at first. What we can do is change the voxel size, and we can get effectively more resolution. Now this is something that you'll want to play with in your individual projects to get the best result. But then with this, we can export the mesh just like we saw. And I utilized a ArrayFire bomb in order to explode out the particles. And that just gave the best look for the particles exploding from the Space Invader. So here we are now back in After Effects. Ideally, we'd have all of our footage rendered out, and we are ready to start compositing. I'm going to be spending a lot of time on this because this is the biggest complaint we get for the tutorials, that I don't spend enough time in compositing. So this is me fixing that problem. So here we have our original renders, and again, these are all available for download if you're a Patreon supporter. And we can actually, and I actually rendered them out in 2.5K. to save a little bit of time. So 2560, and we'll change our composition. And then I'll go ahead and transform fit to comp. And then we also have our shadows, which will drag on underneath. And then we also have our invader, which is only at the beginning. So the first thing we need to play with is, how are we going to make this look more realistic? Because right now it is pretty flat, but if we copy over our LUT from the original, we can see that the color correction is just not working out. So what we want to do is, change the white balance of this effect. So we can go in here and we can affect the crumble, and I'm just going to go ahead and open up a curves, and we can just lower down this value. Apply some more blue to it. Overall, lower the exposure. It's pretty bright. And with some tweaking, we can finally get a result that actually looks pretty decent. And you're going to want to do that the same for this guy right here. Now I'm curious if I actually apply this, if that will work, because it's under the same lighting conditions. It works semi-well. A little too dark. One thing I also played with for this little guy was I applied some glow over top of him. Stylize glow. And that gave him just like a shiny little look. So if we change this to on top, if we change that to none, and then we'll go in here and change to AB colors. So we can actually apply a little bit of glow to him to give him a little bit of a energetic look. These are just all fun effects to play around with. But the biggest selling point to this is that there's no motion blur. So one of my favorite effects in After Effects is actually this little plugin called a Real Smart Motion Blur. So if we head over here and we open it up, Real Smart Motion Blur, so you can see that it figures out motion blur for moving objects frame by frame, which is really helpful because then we don't need to render out velocity passes. And then the last thing we'll want to play with is getting some realistic shadows. These are looking a little fake. There's what we're replicating. So we can just go ahead and lower the opacity, and then we can also just apply a simple blur, a fast blur. Put it on 5 pixels. And there we go. It's a pretty easy effect, but it gives a very awesome result. So I hope this helped out, and thank you so much for watching. I would appreciate if you guys check out our Patreon page. We've got some great rewards on there, and I would love to hear some feedback about that as well. Thanks, guys. Until next time.